Ghostbusters could have looked very different, and some of these alternate versions are almost unrecognizable. Who you gonna call? Well, depending on the draft, it could have been anyone from Eddie Murphy to Pee Wee Herman.
What did you say your name was?
Hey there, nostalgia fans. Neon Fossil here.
There's something very strange about that man.
Ghostbusters might feel like one of those movies that was destined to be made exactly the way it was. But in reality, the version we know is just one timeline of many.
Sometimes shit happens, someone has to deal with it, and who are you gonna call?
Early drafts, scrapped casting choices, and studio experiments could have left us with a very different film. From intergalactic ghost cops to all-female squads decades before 2016, let's travel through the multiverse of what Ghostbusters almost was.
Are you a god?
Here are the top 10 alternate versions of Ghostbusters you never saw. Eddie Murphy as Winston Zeddemore. Originally, Winston was written as a much bigger role, practically the third lead alongside Venkman and Ray, and the part was offered to none other than Eddie Murphy.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
At the time, he was exploding in popularity thanks to Saturday Night Live and 48 Hours. If Murphy had signed on, Winston would have been introduced earlier and given much more comedic weight, but Murphy turned it down to star in Beverly Hills Cop instead, and Ernie Hudson stepped into a trimmed-down version of the role.
Look, I've only been with the company for a couple of weeks, but I gotta tell you, these things are real.
Ghostbusters could have leaned even harder into comedy with Murphy's energy, but would it have had the same balance? John Belushi's Ghostbusters. Dan Aykroyd originally envisioned his friend and frequent collaborator John Belushi as one of the leads. Tragically, Belushi passed away in 1982 before the script was finished. In fact, Aykroyd has said that Slimer was partly inspired by Belushi, with his gluttonous eating and chaotic energy modeled after Belushi's famous Animal House character.
Oh, no, don't worry. Just keep your hands and feet away from his mouth.
Don't you have any respect for yourself?
Had Belushi lived, Ghostbusters would have had a very different tone, with his manic style likely making Venkman or Ray more outrageous. Instead, Bill Murray stepped in, giving the film a drier, sarcastic wit that changed the whole balance of the group.
What has that got to do with it?
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
The Pee Wee Herman Ghostbusters. Here's a weird one. Paul Reubens, better known as Pee Wee Herman, was considered for the role of Gozer.
Say it! Don't spray it!
Instead of the sleek, otherworldly being we got, Gozer was written as a playful, almost childish trickster who could have easily taken Pee Wee's eccentric form. Imagine the Ghostbusters facing down Pee Wee in his grey suit instead of a demonic goddess. The tone of that climax would have been completely different.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria!
The studio ultimately went with a more intimidating design to raise the stakes. Still, imagining Pee Wee is one of the strangest almosts in movie history. The intergalactic Ghostbusters. Dan Aykroyd's original draft looked nothing like the film we know today. Instead of New York City, the Ghostbusters traveled through time and space hunting specters across dimensions. They wore futuristic jumpsuits, carried wands instead of proton packs, and operated more like interstellar cops than exterminators.
We're close on this one, I can feel it.
The story had little grounding in everyday reality, which made it nearly impossible to film on a reasonable budget. The studio reeled Aykroyd in, forcing a total rewrite that would ground the story in New York.
Hello, New York!
Without that change, we might have had a bizarre sci-fi epic instead of the street-level comedy classic we love. The female Ghostbusters of the 80s. Most people know about the 2016 reboot.
And here we go!
But few realize that an all-female Ghostbusters had been pitched way back in the late 80s. After the original film's success, studios tossed around sequel ideas that could include a spin-off team of women busting ghosts.
So tell me, Dr. Heiss, is this for real?
Hell no.
The project never got off the ground, largely because the studio wanted to focus on the original cast for Ghostbusters 2. Still, the concept lingered for decades until finally resurfacing in 2016. If it had happened earlier, the franchise might have taken a very different cultural path. The Ghostbusters animated spin-off film. After the real Ghostbusters cartoon took off in the late 80s, studios considered making an animated feature instead of a live-action sequel.
What's small and hairy and green all over?
There's no time for jokes, Peter.
Who's joking?
This version would have combined the zaniness of the cartoon with the darker edges of the original film. Concept art suggested more colorful ghosts and exaggerated action sequences, almost a blend of Looney Tunes and sci-fi horror. In the end, Columbia stuck with Ghostbusters 2 in live action, but the idea shows just how wide open the franchise was at the time. The Ghostbusters without Bill Murray. Here's a scary thought. Bill Murray almost didn't do the movie.
You serious about this catching your goals?
I'm always serious.
He was notoriously unpredictable when it came to committing to projects, and at one point, the studio wasn't sure he'd even show up.
There's definitely a very slim chance we'll survive.
Alternate casting choices floated around included Chevy Chase and even Robin Williams. Imagine Venkman with Chase's smarmy edge or Williams' rapid-fire energy. Both would have shifted the film in wildly different directions. Thankfully, Murray came through, and his sarcastic, grounded delivery anchored the comedy in a way no one else could.
We clown around and everybody laughs, and it's infectious.
The Ghost Smashers. Before it was Ghostbusters, the script was actually called Ghost Smashers. Columbia Pictures worried that the title Ghost Smashers didn't roll off the tongue, and that audiences wouldn't take to such an odd visual design. Once the name was switched to Ghostbusters and the tech streamlined into the familiar proton packs, it's proof that sometimes even a simple name change can make all the difference. Ghostbusters 3: Hellbent. For years, fans heard whispers about a third Ghostbusters movie called Hellbent. In this version, the team would have been transported to a hellish version of New York called Manhattan. They'd battle demonic forces in a warped parallel dimension, pushing the series in a darker, more surreal direction.
You have been a participant in the biggest interdimensional cross-rip since the Tunguska Blast of 1909.
Scripts were written and revised throughout the 90s, but Murray's reluctance to return killed the project. Still, some ideas from Hellbent later influenced the Ghostbusters video game, which many fans consider the unofficial third film. Ghostbusters with a different theme song. It's hard to imagine Ghostbusters without Ray Parker Jr.'s infectious theme song.
Something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call?
But believe it or not, the studio originally pursued Huey Lewis and the News to write the track. When Lewis declined, Parker stepped in and created one of the most iconic movie themes of all time. Without that song, the film's identity might have felt incomplete. It's one of those rare cases where the music was just as essential as the cast. So there you have it, 10 alternate versions of Ghostbusters that almost made it to the screen. Some might have worked, some would have been disasters, and a few could have changed movie history entirely. Which of these do you think would have been the wildest to see? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the movies that defined our nostalgia. Until next time, this is Neon Fossil, signing off before Slimer raids the fridge again.